The cold was not a temperature, it was a religion. I felt it bite into my bones before my boots touched the black ice of the planet. I felt it behind my eyes, in my gums, in the scars the uniform could never cover. Above me, the red dwarf burned like a tired ember, small and sick, hanging in a starless sky. My ship, the Harvester K-77, hovered over the atmosphere like a coffin with engines. I had come to kill a sun. It wasn't the first time. I had extinguished blue giants that roared like wounded gods. I had drained dying yellow stars surrounded by frozen cities. I had seen oceans boil for the last time before turning into dead mirrors. But that sun did not roar, it whispered. Inside my helmet, the order blinked in white letters, immediate extinction. A clean phrase for an immense crime. I breathed inside the suit. My breath sounded old, as if it didn't belong to me. Then I saw it. A warm light in the middle of the frozen desert. It wasn't a reactor. It wasn't a beacon. It wasn't a military installation. It was a house, a wooden cabin. And in a universe where no one built with wood anymore, that seemed more impossible than hope. They called me Harvester, but we all knew the truth. We didn't harvest, we stole. We stole the last breath of the stars and sent it to the central stations, where humanity had huddled like frightened flesh around artificial furnaces. They told us that every extinguished sun bought time, one more week for the children, one more day for the sick, one more hour so the human species wouldn't become a stain of frost on the glass of its own tombs. I obeyed. That was easier than thinking. A harvester had no homeland, no family, no right to look too long at the planets he condemned. We were hands wrapped in black metal, tools with a pulse, executioners at a distance. In official records, my name existed. In my mind, it no longer did. Each mission took something small from me. My mother's voice, the smell of synthetic bread in the lower modules, the laughter of a woman whose name I had sworn not to forget. Everything had been fading inside me, just like the stars beneath my machine. Humanity said I was necessary. But no one embraces a tool, no one cries for a useful monster. That's why I descended to the planet with the dorsal extractor armed and my thumb over the authorization seal. I didn't expect to find life. The scanners had marked the surface as sterile. Ice, rock, silence. But the cabin was still there, surrounded by a weak, ancient, almost tender force field. The snow struck the barrier and melted into small golden tears. I touched the surface of the field. It responded with a soft tremor, like skin. The door opened before I knocked. Inside, it smelled of smoke, damp earth, and something I didn't recognize at first because my world had forgotten it. The smell of life. The interior was small. The walls were made of pale logs, worn down by centuries of storms. There was a circular stove in the center, but it burned no fuel. It glowed with the same reddish light of the sun outside, captured and softened until it resembled a household lamp. And by the window, sitting in a chair too large for his thin body, was him, an old man. Not human, his skin was the color of wet ash. His eyes were black, but not empty. Inside them moved slow green reflections, like auroras beneath a frozen lake. His hands were long, with many joints, and they carefully held a small pot. In the pot grew a sprout, a tiny plant, two transparent leaves, crossed by red veins, leaning toward the dying light of the sky. I raised my weapon. He didn't move. He didn't beg, didn't scream, didn't call for hidden soldiers. He simply stroked the soil with a finger and said something my translator took a moment to convert. "You're late." I didn't know what to say. The phrase hit me harder than a threat. He activated the protocol. "This system has been declared non-essential. The star will be drained for human survival. Evacuate if you have the means." The old man looked out the window, outside. The sun trembled on the horizon like a wound that would not close. "There are no means," he said. There is no after. The plant leaned a little more toward the light. Then I understood. He wasn't protecting a base. He wasn't hiding a weapon. He was tending a sprout. The last sprout of something that could only grow under that sick star, the report in my visor updated with cruel precision. Remaining solar energy. Enough to sustain the central human station for 6 days. 19 hours. Local life detected. 2 organic forms. 1 elderly. 1 vegetal. The arithmetic was obscene. Millions against 2. They always taught us that numbers washed the blood away. But there, in front of an old creature and a trembling plant, the numbers felt dirtier than ever. I asked him why he hadn't left. The old man smiled without joy. He told me his species had been born under that red light, that they had not built empires, fleets, or machines to devour stars. They had lived slowly. They had spoken with the ice. They had learned the language of roots. When the universe began to cool, they did not run. They listened. That's what he said. They listened. The last plant of their world was not food, nor medicine, nor fuel. It was memory. Each seed held a way of turning darkness into warmth. Not like a reactor, not like a battery, like a heart. I laughed, though there was no humor in me. I told him hearts did not power orbital stations. I told him humanity was freezing to death. I told him there were children pressed against thermal walls, elders breathing recycled vapor, mothers counting the hours between blackouts. He listened patiently. That patience made me furious. I wanted him to hate me. I wanted him to call me a murderer. I wanted him to give me a simple reason to press the seal and return to my ship. But the old man only looked at my black gloves. "You are being drained too," he said. The phrase slipped through the cracks of my armor. I didn't answer. The communicator crackled inside my helmet. The command voice came through, sharp and distant. "Harvester K77, confirm extraction start." I looked at the plant, so small, so useless, so alive. I confirmed receipt, but did not begin. The old man stood with difficulty and walked toward a table. Each step seemed to cost him a memory. On the wood were ancient carvings, spirals, suns, open hands. He showed me a seed. It was black, rough, the size of a dried tear. He held it between us. "Your species only knows how to steal light," he said. "We learned to be the light." I felt anger, not at him, at the sentence, at the possibility that it was true.